What's poppin', dogs? It's Mr. Allen, and I'm about to solve these two quadratic equations by factoring, and guess what? They're going to have lead coefficients, okay? So if you've been avoiding factoring with a lead coefficient and you finally want to learn and stop avoiding your mathematical problems, I'm going to show you guys how to do it in two different ways. Pick your poison, which one you want, all right? First one here is already set equal to 0. Wonderful. Take some of that work out of it. So now I just got to factor it, all right? Which is honestly the hard part, but whatever. It's already equal to 0. Let's take what we can get, you know? So for guess and check, that's the first method I'm going to show you guys, okay? For guess and check, I'm going to look at this first term. It's 3x squared. There's only one way to get two things to multiply to 3x squared. It's with 3x and x. There's no other way, okay? It's a prime number. That makes it a little easier. But the 10, there's a couple ways you can multiply to 10. You can do 1 and 10. You can do 2 and 5, okay? So the way I like to go through guess and check is I start with the ones that are closer to each other numerically, which is 2 and 5 versus 1 and 10. And I'm going to place them, okay? Now, I might try to do some of the check work in my head before I place the numbers, but I'm going to write it down on the board for you guys to see the wrong way first, and then I'll show you how I work through it, because you can't tell what's going on in my brain unless I write it down. So I'll put down a 2 and a 5, okay? To check, I'm going to do 3x times 5. That's 15x. 2 times x. That's 2x. Is the difference between 15x and 2x going to be 1x? No. And why did I pick difference? It's because of this minus sign right here. One of those needs to be negative to multiply to a negative 10. So I'm thinking 15x, 2x, what's the difference? It's not 1. So I got to switch it, okay? So I'm going to erase this. That is not working well. There we go. Got to have a clean finger as well. We'll get this guy. We're going to swap these numbers, okay? So I'm going to swap. I'm going to put the 5 right here and the 2 right here. 3x times 2 is 6x. 5 times x is 5x. What's the difference of 6x and 2x? It's 1x. So which one needs to be negative? Well, I want the larger one to be positive so that it's positive x. So 3x times 2, that's the one that gives me the 6. The 5 needs to be negative. I am now factored. I'm going to make that a bigger minus sign. There we go. And now I can solve, okay? So we get 3x minus 5 equals 0. X plus 2 equals 0. Add 5, divide by 3. So 3x equals 5. X equals 5/3. And over here I get x equals negative 2. Yay! If you're still wondering how I did the whole like check thing after I guessed, let me just run through it one more time before we do rainbow method, aka factor by grouping. I did 3x times x, that's 3x squared. I knew that right off the bat. 5 and 2, I know multiplies to 10 because I wrote those down over here. So the only checking I was doing was the outside. 3x times 2 is 6x. Inside 5 times x is 5x. 6x minus 5x is 1x. Boom. Dope. All right. Now it's time for factor by grouping, okay? We'll do this one in green. Now the way we do factor by grouping, actually let me rewrite the problem down here just so we have it all in one spot. 3x squared plus x minus 10 equals 0. I'm going to multiply the lead coefficient and the constant term at the end for some side math, okay? Not in the actual problem. 3 times negative 10 is negative 30. And then I got to add to that 1 that's right here, so that's a 1. What numbers are going to do that? It's 5 and 6. So I'd have positive 6, negative 5. But here's the thing. A lot of people are like, oh, cool, it's just x plus 6, x minus 5. No! I need to break apart that 1x into positive 6x minus 5x. The negative 10 stays. So the 3x squared and the negative 10 stay. But x becomes 6x minus 5x. Right? That is equivalent to 1x. So this is the same. This is the same. But it looks different. Same, but different. Okay. Now, group them. I'm going to group the first two, pull out the GCF. Second two, pull out the GCF. So what I've done here is I take a more complex factor. We got to think of a lot of things at once. And now just bring it down to GCF. Easy peasy. If you know how to factor with the GCF. 3x can come out. And then I'm left with x plus 2. Over here, negative 5 can come out. And I'll be left with x plus 2. Those two should be the same. Okay? So this right here, those two are common factors of this larger term and this larger term. So I'm going to pull the x plus 2's out. And I'm going to leave behind the 3x minus 5. And look at that. It's the same thing. Cool? I'm not going to finish solving it because it's the same solutions there, just a different way of factoring it. I honestly favor this method. My hands are all blue. This method when the numbers are larger and it's harder to work with. But if I've got a prime lead coefficient, that's prime guess and check work, all right? All right, on to this one. Not equal to 0. Unfortunately, not equal to 0. So let's hop to it now. I'm going to subtract x and 6 on both sides. That cancels those. Got to get it equal to 0 first, right? That's the kind of the big deal with quadratics, you know? All right. So it's got to be equal to 0 if I want to factor or even use quadratic formula. The only time it's not going to be equal to 0 is with completing the square. And who solves by completing the square? Weirdos solve by completing the square, okay? That's right. I said it. Come at me, bro. So I'm going to subtract. Let's see here. Hold on. Let's make sure it's all good because I'm talking and making jokes. We're good. All right. We're equal to 0. Guess and check first. This one's a little trickier because it's hard to get to 4x squared. I've got two options, 4x and 1x, 2x and 2x. But I will start with 2x, okay? So 2x and 2x. Ooh, and there's a couple ways to get 6 as well. So this one's, honestly, I'd probably jump to factor by grouping on this one, this method right here, when I've got even numbers and a negative because there's a lot of possibilities. But I'm going to push through it, okay? Let's start with 2 and 3. 2 and 3. This is going to be 6x, 4x. The difference is not going to be 5x. And even if I swap them, it's the same thing. So I know this is not the correct answer, okay? So I'm going to go to 4x and 1x. But again, I started out close numbers, work my way out to the larger numbers, okay? So now I'm at 4x and 1x. I know it's not the 2x and 2x. It's not going to work. Let's see here. Could I do... Let's see. How about 2 and 3? So could I put a 3 right here and a 2 right here? Let's see what happens. 4 times 2 is 8. 3 times x is 3x. 8x, 3x. The difference is 5x. Yay! We got it. Which one needs to be positive or negative? Let's see. It's positive 5x, so I want the 8x to be positive, the 3x to be negative. We are factored. Let's solve it. 4x minus 3 equals 0. X plus 2 equals 0. So we get x equals, add 3 divided by 4, 3/4. And over here I get x equals negative 2. Cool. Dope. Awesome. I guess I could have checked 6 and 1 over here, but I just jumped to the 4x and the 1x. Luck, I guess. All right. Sometimes that happens, man, with guess and check. Sometimes just luck has it. All right. So let's see here. I'm going to go back to this guy here. 4x squared plus 5x minus 6 equals 0. Let's do rainbow method now. So that's going to be, let's see here. I'll jot it down off to the side. That's negative 24. Positive 5. That's what, 8. And negative 3 will do that. And you're only thinking about one number multiplying and adding instead of like the lead coefficient. I know that it is more complex doing the guess and check. There's a little more thinking, but it does get faster as you practice. So now this breaks up into 4x squared plus 8x minus 3x minus 6 equals 0. And then I'm going to group them. So group the first two and the second two. GCF time. What's my greatest common factor of 4x squared plus 8x? It is 4x. And I'm left with x plus 2. What's the greatest common factor of negative 3x minus 6? It is negative 3x. Pro tip, anytime this number is negative, negative is coming out with it, all right? It's going to happen. It's a 0. So now the x plus 2's are the same. They come out. That is the greatest common factor of these very large terms. That's why you don't see like x plus 2 quantities squared. It's a common factor of the two larger terms. And then I've got 4x minus 3 left over. We are factored. It's going to give me the same exact answers as above, so I'm not even going to solve it. But there you go, guys. Two different ways of factoring these things. I prefer guess and check when the numbers are smaller. Probably would have preferred rainbow method here, but I did get it on the second try, which is pretty dope. But it takes practice. It takes practice to get good at guess and check, but it will be faster in the long run. So pick your poison, whichever one works for you guys. Just make sure that you can factor with a lead coefficient, okay? It's not going away. Never will. It'll be there. Algebra 1, geometry, Algebra 2, pre-calc, calculus. I guess once you're in the real world, you probably don't need to know it anymore. But for now, you do.